kids. Welcome back to Bible Study for Kids. It's Nina Sarai here again. And if you've been following along with me, we have made it to Genesis chapter 4. If you've missed any previous episodes, don't worry. Go back and watch those first, and I'll be right here when you're ready. Okay, so in chapter 3, we went over the temptation of the serpent, the disobedience of Adam and Eve, the curse God put on each of those who rebelled against him, and how Adam and Eve was sent from the garden. Let's get started with chapter 4. So Adam and Eve had their first child named Cain and a second child named Abel. Each child had a responsibility when they were old enough to work, and Abel's responsibility was to take care of the sheep, while Cain was to take care of the ground or the soil to prepare it for planting crops. Now, back in those days, there would come a time when the people would give an offering to God. An offering is like a gift to God to show your gratitude towards him for what he has blessed you with. So when you give an offering, it's important you give it with a good heart and that it's a valuable offering to show respect to God. Basically, you don't want to offer up scraps or offer something with a bad attitude. That's not right. So when it was Cain and Abel's time to give an offering to God, Abel gave the firstborn sheep of the season and God loved it. However, Cain gave the fruit of the ground, but God was unhappy with his offering. Now, it does not say exactly what was wrong with Cain's offering, but things that may have been the issue were perhaps God gave them both instructions on how and what to offer as an offering. Abel was obedient, but Cain did not follow the instructions. Cain could have had a bad attitude and did not really want to give an offering. Perhaps the fruit he offered was rotten or not so great, and he gave it just because he didn't want it. Or perhaps he just gave a small portion of the fruit and kept a large portion for himself. Again, we are not exactly sure, but what we do know is that whatever Cain's offering was, it was not respectable to God. And because God didn't like Cain's offering, this made Cain angry. But here's why we know that Cain didn't follow God's instructions. God asked him, "Why are you angry? You know when you do well, you'll be accepted. But when you refuse to do the right thing, you're letting sin get the best of you." And just so you guys know, sin is a word that will be mentioned a lot in the Bible. Sin is the act of doing the wrong thing, doing something against God's instructions. Furthermore, this was God giving Cain a chance to repent or confess of his sin. God knows all things, so he already knows if and when you sin. The best thing to do is to admit it, apologize, and ask for his forgiveness. And then change your behavior to be better. But guess what? Cain did not do that. He instead did something far worse. One day when Cain and Abel were together in the field, Cain killed his brother Abel. God spoke to Cain and asked him, "Where is Abel, thy brother?" Again, here is God giving Cain an opportunity to be honest. But Cain said, "I don't know. I'm not my brother's keeper." But God could hear the voice of Abel's blood crying from the ground. And God asked, "What hast thou done?" And because of Cain's sin, God cursed Cain from the earth. So that now when Cain tills the ground, it won't bring up anything good for him. And Cain will now be a fugitive and vagabond. This means that he will always be on the run from everyone and won't have any place to call home. But then Cain told God that punishment was far too much for him to take. Cain said that if God makes him a fugitive and vagabond, then anyone who finds him will kill him. So God put a mark on Cain that warned everyone not to kill him. You see that? God had mercy, compassion, and forgiveness on Cain, even though Cain had done something very bad. Just like God had mercy on Adam and Eve and allowed them to continue to live, although he didn't have to. I bet you're starting to see God's character. Love, kindness, compassion. What an awesome God. We have a little more left of chapter 4, but we'll stop here for now and finish that in the next video. Be proud for getting this far and reward yourselves with a healthy treat. And hey, don't forget to follow and hit the bell to get notified so you don't miss any info. Also, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. See you soon. Bye-bye now.